Who wants to make caramel corn like it's 1999? I know I do because this looks really good. We've got a Betty Crocker cookbook from 1999. This is a really neat one. I'll do a deeper dive here in a minute, but first let me show you what we're gonna make and get this in the oven because we need to have that in the oven for about 1 hour. And we do need some babysitting because we're going to be stirring it every 15 minutes. Now, I absolutely love caramel corn. I love those big tubs of it you can get from Costco and Sam's Club for Christmas, but I really want to try to make my own. So I've got everything we already need all out and pre-measured because, you know, like I said, this is going to have to bake for an hour, so we kind of want to get this started quick. We have limited ingredients, so that's good. We're also going to be using some of this popcorn. I'm decided to use the kind that's got the multiple different kinds of corn. I think that'll give it more variety in terms of flavor and texture. So I've got that measured out. I'm going to be popping it in coconut oil because that kind of gives it more of that movie theater popcorn taste. We've got a pot for the sugar mixture, and then we've got this big boy for the popcorn. This looks a little big. It's probably going to be too big, but it's the only one that can probably hold that much popcorn that has a lid. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and get this started. And it's overhead camera time because we're going to fill this pot with our butter, our brown sugar, corn syrup, and then our salt. We're going to get this all nice and melted and bubbly on the stove top. We're going to cook that down for about 5 minutes, and then we'll take it off the heat and add in our baking soda. So keep this aside just for now. Good thing I used my biggest pot because I turned out to actually need it. Now, I've taken this off the heat. I've got it nice and bubbly and melted. And now is when we're going to add our baking soda. All right, we're going to give that a good stir, and we should be ready to pour this all over that popcorn. Oh, wow, look at what that baking soda did. Thickened it up, got it nice and bubbly, so we are ready to go ahead and get this in the oven. All right, now I hope this bowl is big enough. And I used to have a giant bowl, and I wasn't using it, so I got rid of it, and wouldn't you know it, that's about the time that I actually need it. All right, this is gonna be kind of a tight fit, so I think what I might do is put some in this other bowl. That way I can at least go ahead and stir this up, and then I'll just add this to it as I go. All right, let's try that and see how that ends up. And in goes our caramel. And now all we have to do is stir it all together. Okay, I'm just gonna add some more popcorn. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just keep transferring little bits at a time, and then we'll come back together once I get all of it mixed together. I've got this pretty much coated, so I think we're ready to put it in the oven. I've got my 2 trays. They said to do it ungreased. I'm a little skeptical, but we're gonna go ahead and do it just like the recipe says. So let's go ahead and pour our corn onto our trays. And now we're gonna babysit this for an hour and try to remember to stir that every 15 minutes. And while that's in the oven, We'll go ahead and get ready to do our look through, and in 1 hour we'll have something to taste test. And let's take a look at this really neat little cookbook from Betty Crocker. We have Best Christmas Cookbook. Now, this was printed in 1999, but you'll see here, this is actually from my grandmother's collection. You can see it was from Sister Stanley. That was a lady that she used to go to church with in Michigan. And she was gifted this on December 25th, 2001 as a Christmas present from her friend. And it must have been a really good cookbook because she kept it all these years. Now, everything in here obviously is Christmas themed and party themed. So you are going to have a chapter on mixed drinks for your party. And then you're going to get into your appetizers, which a lot of them looked actually really good. Like this polenta bite I thought looked really fun. You've got your main dishes. You have a lot of things, like this here I actually thought was really interesting. That's kind of a new take on sweet potato casserole, where you've got the sliced sweet potato with the toppings on top. I actually thought that was kind of interesting. You've got lots of interesting looking soups and stews, and of course casseroles, just in case you need to bring a ton of food to that next Christmas party. I like the fact that they do have a side category, so you can do like, a lot of vegetables and things if you would like to add that to your table. Pretty much anything in here I would actually make. It looks really good. This one looks really interesting. Leek apple yam gratin. I think that sounds really good. Wild rice nut cake. Now that looks really interesting too. You've got lots of holiday breads that looks really good. We may have to break out some of that gluten-free flour and try some of these. And then, of course, you've got desserts. But something that I really enjoyed about this cookbook in particular is you have a chapter devoted to like what I would term your Christmas candy. A lot of these are things that people just make once a year. Like my grandmother always made Christmas fudge that was so good that we couldn't stay out of. And this one actually has a lot of those that sounds really good. You've got your bonbons. You've got all kinds of really interesting little candies that you could actually make a gift out of and give away as presents. And then you actually have crafts in here, which I thought was really interesting. So you can make the bird feeders with the kids and hang it out in the trees to watch the birds. And then you also have other little decorations that you can make. And now this is also kind of a fun chapter because this is also things you can give out for gifts, like your apple butters, your jellies, but also sauces would be really good to give to somebody. I always think these are fun, like herb vinegars. This is something that, since I'm going to expand my herb garden, we may come back to and make some of these vinegars for ourselves. So this is something that I think you could enjoy even now. And of course, if you're interested in this one, I have seen this one on Thrift Books and eBay just for a few dollars. So I think this one would be well worth it if you can find it and add it to your collection. We are 45 minutes into our hour-long baking process. But you can see this is looking so good, just like caramel corn. And I've actually been remembering to stir it every 15 minutes. So it's looking really good and I cannot wait to get to eat this. I've also been making a vegetable beef soup for our lunch. I didn't follow a recipe. This is just things in the freezer and the refrigerator that I kind of needed to use up. So it's kind of one of those catch-all soups, but usually those end up being the best kind. We're at the 1 hour mark, so let's go ahead and pull this out. Look at that beautiful color. I have a feeling this is going to be really hard to stop eating. So we're going to let this cool down just a little bit, and then we're going to give it a try. All right, Mitch is out for lunch. I'm going to let him do the first taste test. What do you think?
Wow, that's really good.
Is it better than store-bought?
Oh yeah, 100 times. Look at that.
Now, you know you have to save some room for soup, right? This is going to be dessert. All right, let's begin. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. That is so good. I knew this was going to be kind of a mistake to make this because, as predicted, I really don't want to stop eating it. I'm going to try to save some for my parents, but I don't know. This is going to be really, really hard to give up. Now, it's got a wonderful, like, buttery and sugary taste. Oh, and then that with that savory popcorn underneath, it's so perfect. And I use the Country Crock plant butter. I didn't notice a difference between what real butter would have tasted like and this. So really pleased with how that butter turned out with this. I feel like this was a win. Had limited ingredients, not very expensive, easy to throw together. Wasn't that difficult to babysit in the oven because you have the oven on so low that you don't really have to worry about it burning. So overall, I think this would be perfect to make as little gifts. You could add things like nuts and candies to it if you wanted to, and just really make it pretty and gift to somebody. If someone gave me homemade caramel corn, I would be so happy with that as a present. And in terms of this little cookbook, I'm not going to go through the review like I did before, but I will say that I'm really glad my grandmother kept this cookbook, and I'm definitely going to keep it too because I'm going to pull it out probably to make this again a few times throughout the year, but also to look through and make some other things out of it that look really interesting and tasty. So there you go. Thank you for watching this episode. Really hope you make this because if you have guests and put this in front of them, they're going to eat the whole bowl, I promise. So thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you next time for another Christmas treat. Hope you stay tuned for that one. We'll see you then. Bye.
And if you like historical cooking and unusual cookbooks, here's 2 more videos you might enjoy. And make sure to like and subscribe for more foodie adventures.